Hi, Anti-Society! Welcome back to the Anti-Social Planet, and today we are watching episodes 16 and 17 of Ergo Proxy. So, last episode, a lot of information was thrown at me, so I apologize if I don't remember all of it, if it doesn't all stay in my head, if it's not something that I can keep track of, because it was a lot. I don't even know where I want to start because there's so much information. I think the key thing to take from that episode, at least in my take from it, was that the proxies are directly related to the domed cities and this like evacuation program that happened in order to get human beings off of the planet or away from this toxic environment that was created by this like alternative energy source that didn't turn out the right way. So I've been wondering for a little bit about whether or not proxies are like a mutation from that toxic environment, because we know that they can go outside in that toxic environment and not get sick like humans do. We've seen them just out in this toxic environment, in cities and stuff like that. So I had this a little bit of an assumption that like maybe that's where they came from, but it seems that they are more connected to like human creation. I don't know to what extent, like if humans are responsible for making proxies or if humans have uh, augmented proxies in some way, or just like, I don't know, roped them into being part of this scheme thing. I don't really know yet. I assume that we're going to get some more details about that as we continue through the rest of the show. Maybe we won't. I mean, Ergo Proxy tends to like not give me just straight answers. So maybe that's something I'll have to figure out once I get to the end of the show. And we also got some context for why we've been seeing proxies in these cities. I mean, like abandoned and run down and deserted cities, but it seems that they are supposed to be in charge to some capacity of the domed cities. So that definitely makes me wonder about a few different things. One, I'm assuming that Ergo and Monad were in charge of Mosque, like that was their city, which begs the question, like, who's in charge of Ramdos? Like, which proxy was supposed to be in charge of Ramdos, if any? I don't really know how long Ramdos has been like around, that they might have a proxy. I don't know how long proxies have been a thing, how long since this natural disaster. There's a lot of things I still don't know. Um, Obviously, when do I never have a bunch of questions going into an Ergo Proxy reaction? But we did end with MCQ in this like Jeopardy style game, which I think was a really good way of getting a lot of information to the viewer without it feeling like just like exposition, like just having somebody talk for a really long time. I always hate when that happens in shows where like there's just a character like there talking and there's like panning shots of them like standing in a room. It's boring, it's not engaging. So this is definitely a more interesting way of just getting a lot of information out that's going to be important for, I assume is important for the rest of the show, without just having a character sit there and talk about it. So we had MCQ, who is going to die now. I don't know if that's through a confrontation with Vincent or if that's just what's gonna happen. Like, that's how it's set up. We had all the auto reeves there, so maybe they have something to do with it. I don't know. I don't know if we'll get any answers for that anyway, because Ergo Proxy tends to like not have the most linear storytelling, and there tend to be time jumps and stuff like that. So all I know is like we're still trying to get to Mosque. Hopefully we're close, because I feel like a lot of the answers to what Vincent is looking for, and Riel too, are going to be hopefully found there. We've kind of been hyping up the whole fact that all of the answers are in Mosque. So hopefully we'll get to some of that. I'll be curious to see what else we see of Raul and Douglas's story and like Ramdos in general, because we did have the broadcast where everyone found out what was going on, but more importantly found out that Riel is indeed still alive. She was like officially dead. according to like the death certificate that Douglas signed. So I'll be interested to see if we get more of that story and kind of the potential power struggle that I think is going to happen there. But let's just get into episode 16 and see what new questions and confusion we can find. In three, two, one, go. Are we just not dealing with the MCQ thing anymore? Okay. Way to beat the alarm. Rude. Unnecessary. I thought you guys were like sort of friends now. Acquaintances? Willing to put up with each other? Her name is Pino. You should really like be nicer to the Otto Reeves in your life, considering how the Iggy thing turned out. I just love how Pino still has that instrument. Did she get into Riel's makeup? You know, Pino's lucky that she's so cute because she could quickly turn into like nightmare fuel. There's something about the fact that, like, well, partly because she's like a child robot, but also, like, 99% of the time she's happy. And that's just always uncomfortable. People who are just like happy all the time. Or is that just me? Does that say more about me that like people who are happy all the time freak me out? Maybe that's more about me. I'm a little bit, I mean, not surprised because time jumps happen all the time with the show, but I'm definitely like a little disappointed that we're not going to see what happened with MCQ. The episodes of the show are like oddly self-contained. Like obviously there's overbranching story for all of it and it all like interconnects together, but they tend to have like one episode stories. At least recently. The recent episodes have been that way. Instead of like ongoing stories with like the same characters and stuff. Oh, well, at least we're getting towards Mosque. Is this going to be more of a self-contained story and that like it's going to be on the rabbit with like the main three characters? I feel the same way. Same. Vincent also sees himself as a mystery though, because he doesn't like remember stuff. He remembers some of it. Ooh, Oh, darling. Oh, Pino's just trying to be like her. Oh, why? He's left-handed? What a thing to get upset about. Considering the nature of like everything that's happened. It's very mundane. Aw, she just wanted to play. That you can't cook? His whole thing is strangely mundane. And she's just like making observation. Or is she left-handed because she sees Vincent and Vincent is left-handed? Sinister. Dang, I can't do that. It takes you like 5 minutes to wash your hair? It doesn't take that long. Does it bother her that they're not like, I don't know, like that Vincent isn't keeping himself very like put together, or that they're both just like more relaxed than she is. They're more like go with the flow than she is. She needs like strict structure, and it's just like gone now that she's not in like um in one of the dome cities. Is she using Pinot as a weight? She's definitely gonna snoop, isn't she? I feel like she wants there to be some kind of like great, like extraordinary thing about Vincent. And like the only thing extraordinary about him is that he's a proxy, but like he can't remember it. Is that part of her morning routine to kick him off the ship? I don't know if you're as different as you want to believe, Riel. Just making the best of the situation, choosing to be content. Riel seems like the kind of person who like chooses to be irritated. Oh, are they stuck in place? Because it doesn't seem like they're moving. Okay, yeah. I've been thinking that for a little while. I'm like, it doesn't seem like they're moving, which is probably why she's so frustrated. I feel like part of the reason Riel is upset is because since they're standing still, she has to like she gets forced to kind of think about what's happening. Like Riel doesn't like feeling powerless and like she doesn't want to like stop and think about the situation she found herself in. I always liked the first snow. It's always so like quiet when it first snows. See, she's just missing out on how pretty it is. Because she's, I mean, part of it, I guess, is her just feeling disheartened about the whole situation, which is fair enough. She's been through a lot. But also, like, at least try to find some joy where you can. I don't know if that's the way to go about it. It'd be pretty funny if it actually worked, though. It's a little scary. She wants him to get that one hair that he always misses. Is this the first episode where you've seen her without makeup on? Really? I miss Iggy. She's looking like less and less put together herself, and she's like not sticking to her strict schedule. So I feel like she's kind of needing to accept, like, she needs to kind of accept that her life is different now. You know what I mean? She seems like she's getting slightly less uptight, which I appreciate. Yeah, see, look at the pretty lights. Instead of being grumpy and trying to just seeing all the problems with your current situation, see some of the beauty. Glass half full, also half empty, but that's not the point. See, way to way to adapt. Look at the smile happening. I'm so happy that she's like starting to kind of shift a little bit as a character because she was very unpleasant there for a while. Yes. Sitting around worrying about things you can't control is always a waste of time. Pino. Ooh, the wind. Gonna be on the move soon. Oh no, your notes. The important chronicles of getting rid of that one hair. That was an interesting episode of kind of like very Riel focused after a lot of episodes about like Vincent mainly, but also like even in the episodes where she was like more of a prominent character, there was like other stuff going on, like the stuff with Iggy. There's the like abandoned town where there's just like the auto reeves around. Like even even in those stories where she was like one of the main characters, she wasn't like central to the story really. Like she was kind of, I don't know, tagging along to other people's stories. I feel like that says a lot about Riel though, is her just like her life in general, she's been very much like dictated by other people making decisions for her. And I feel like part of the reason she was so frustrated when they first got like kind of stuck in place was because I think she wanted like Vincent to be strong because she wanted Vincent to like take control of the situation, and she's like not used to having to like make all of the decisions herself, or like kind of having to build her own structure for her life. Like she usually had other people who kind of uh dictated her schedule for her. Even when she was a kid and she was like being experimented on. Are we finally gonna get to Mosque? Because we're talking about ruins, which makes me think of Mosque. So that episode definitely felt like it was intentionally supposed to be very like character driven, specifically about Riel, and it was definitely one of those like, I don't know, there was a lot of character development, I feel like, within that episode, because if anyone needed a bit of a attitude upgrade, it was Riel, definitely. So it was nice to see her kind of, like I was saying during the episode, of like her kind of transitioning between like having a very structured life, and I've talked about this before, probably in the last reaction, where I was talking about how she's very used to like following the rules and like assumptions of the world that she's always grown up in, and suddenly that's been like taken away from her because she's now having to deal with the fact that there were a lot of misconceptions or just straight up lies that were told to her throughout her life. So I feel like she's so used to having that structure and having that kind of, I don't know, skeleton to her belief system, that she was really trying to hold on to as much structure as she could. So, like, getting up at the exact same time and going through the same kind of routine and making notes so she felt like she was useful, and she was like making important observations about like an infected autoreiv and a proxy, and she was trying to like hold on to that kind of detective life that she had before, and like going to a job and having a place to live, and that kind of a thing that just isn't part of her life anymore. And I think because of that, she was like very much focused on the negative side of things, because it wasn't that life anymore. Like the structure she was trying to impose on her new life just wasn't compatible with it. And because of that, she was very aware of the fact that she just wasn't in Ramdo anymore. And because of that, she was unable to like fully take advantage of some of the new things that are part of her new way of life, like getting to just spend time with Pino and Vincent as like people, and like not just looking at them as something that's like very separate from her, but like understanding their personalities, what motivates them, like actually spending time with them in a meaningful way as opposed to just like observing them from afar, or trying to understand them as like test subjects. And then the other side of that was just like finding some kind of positive side to the situation, like the fact that Vincent and Pino were looking at the aurora, the I want to say aurora borealis, but I feel like that's technically only in the northern hemisphere. I don't know a lot about like I want to say the northern lights too. I'm assuming they're also in the south. I live in the northern hemisphere. Excuse my bias. But the fact that they were able to go out and enjoy that in the snow and that kind of a thing, and Riel just like stayed in bed and didn't take advantage of that until the end when she actually went outside and she got to see it and see how beautiful it was, that she was kind of missing the opportunity of being able to have new opportunities available to her with the new life that she has, like the freedom of that, the fact that she doesn't need to have a strict structure to her life because there's no one there to enforce it. Like she can wake up whenever she wants to, she can sleep on the floor instead of in her little bunk if she wants to, she can shout out into like the vast unknown. She doesn't have to take very precise notes about everything that she's doing, everything that she's observing, because she isn't working in Ramdos anymore. Like she isn't in a structured environment where people are going to hold her accountable for like sticking to that structure. So I feel like hopefully we're going to see some interesting growth with her as a character as she kind of gets used to the idea that she does have freedom and she can make her own decisions about like what her life is going to be from here on out. I am like a little bit disappointed that we're not going to get some kind of clear conclusion to the like MCQ story, and we didn't get it for the Ophelia story either. Like they just sort of left. So I'm a little bit disappointed that we're not getting some kind of clear end to those stories with the proxies, but like maybe we will later. I'm really curious to see how the story is going to like come to a conclusion, like whether or not it's going to have a clear conclusion or like clear bookend to the story, how it's going to kind of pull together, because I feel like a lot of the times with anime, at least that I watch, they're usually like shonen, action adventure, like even slice of life. There's like a certain goal that usually gets set up early on. And I just feel like I'm not sure how all of the pieces are going to come together and make something that is somewhat coherent, at least for me. But with that, let's just get into episode 17. In three, two, one, go. They have a train system? Like a rail system? Oh, Raul, did you get into some trouble? Being hunted down? What did you do? Ooh, I know there are auto reefs, but it still freaks me out. No? I hope we go back and deal with that. Yeah, he's not gonna remember that. I'm just saying. He's probably used to people like sucking up to him. Interesting. So we're finally gonna go back to uh Remdos and actually deal with the whole like Raul possibly Daedalus thing. I wonder why he got kicked out. Does it have to do with Daedalus and like the experiments they were doing on like the proxies, like kind of like off the books? Or possibly the fact that he tried to kill Riel by like infecting the auto reefs? He's been doing some shady stuff. Raul's a little bit unstable, like emotionally, maybe a little bit mentally. So there are a few possibilities as to why exactly he is not a fellow citizen anymore, why he is not in his professional position anymore. I wonder if he will actually, because I was like, I feel like there's going to be a power struggle involving Raul. So I wonder if, like, now that he's not a fellow citizen, if that's like gonna escalate that, because he's not gonna have to like go through the professional channels to make it happen. Like a coup? I don't know what's gonna happen. Aw, Look at her being nice to Pino and treating her like a person. Progress. Yep. We're gonna find out. Hopefully, finally. It's a good question. Was it? It seems like it was voluntary, though. The way that it was kind of explained of how he, like, transferred his memories. Isn't it Monad that had his memories? Cool camera movement decision there to kind of show the scope of the setting. Uh-oh. Where's Pino? Artificial womb? Are we back in Ramdos? Daedalus? I still don't know what to do with him. Them? Look at the shadows on his eyes, though. That gives him a sinister look. Wasn't it kind of already? Like it was already the end of the world? I feel like maybe we shouldn't antagonize him. Because he is a little emotionally unstable. It's like I said. I don't feel like she would leave Vincent, though. That's kind of where her emotional attachment is. You should definitely find Pino. Aw. Look at us having an emotional connection. Proud of Riel for her growth. Secret cavern? Is he still trying to solve the mystery of all the stuff that was talked about on that show? That's some supervillain stuff right there. Are we hallucinating? Okay, I know I said he was unstable, but I wasn't expecting, like, that route. Daedalus freaks me out. The obsession people seem to have with Riel is alarming. Pino found a piano? Is one alive? One of the creatures? Another civilized race? Or, like, I don't know, sentient race? Has it started to recover? I mean, Riel survived being out there, but I've always assumed that was because there's something different with her biology. Uh-oh. We're having a hallucination in public. I still wonder whether or not Vincent, like Ergo, was like the proxy in charge of Remdo. Because the proxies seem to be assigned to a specific city. Uh-oh. I don't know if that's the way to talk to someone who's partly in charge of running the city that you work in. Really? That seems like a flaw in the system. So there are other creatures that are also alive? That's good. I would feel sad if all of them had died out. Even though I don't know what they are. Aw. I love that Pino just loves instruments. Hello. We bought a balloon? How come? Has he disappeared? He does probably know the security system really well, given his job. The rapture thing? Rapture is an interesting name for that. Because rapture is like a biblical thing, where all of the chosen are taken to heaven, and all of the not chosen are left behind. So if it has something to do with like them going to the satellites, like into space, that was part of what they were talking about when they were with MCQ. That's an interesting reference to bring into it. It doesn't? Aren't you only reinstated because of him. Hmm. Yeah, there's some creepy obsession vibes going on there. I got someone following along. She's got the red eyes, though. Isn't the red eyes something that happens when they have the Cogito virus? Is it just weird because it's gonna be like a natural birth, which is not something that happens with like humans anyway? I wonder if he showed like obsessive interest in the like rapture thing, partly because he wanted to like lure them there. Like he knew that he would have to escape somehow. Why are we shooting the rocket into space? What's it gonna do? Break the dome? Isn't there a dome over the city? So Pina was his companion, Otterive? Did he shoot the rocket just because it was like a way of getting out, like of escaping the planet, and now they don't have it anymore? I'm trying to like pull all the pieces together, like I usually do. I would have had more of a reaction to the fact that Pino was like his daughter, I guess. Auto Reeve daughter thing. Which means that the the woman and the child that were killed in like episode 2 or something by Monad would have been like his wife and child. Uh Except somebody put it in the comments of one of my videos, so I already knew that it was the thing. Sorry, people leave spoilers on these videos all the time, so you can't get a reaction to that reveal because I already knew. It was weird to see Pina with like dark hair though. I don't think we've ever seen her with like brown hair. She's always had purple. I'm assuming Raul is no longer with us though, so I suppose there won't be any kind of power struggle involving him, like, directly now. Maybe as like a result of his actions, but my voice is going out on me partway through. Are we finally gonna make it to Mosque? Because I want to know some of Vincent's memories. Very excited. An interesting couple of episodes to put back to back to have like a very Riel centric story and then to switch over to something that's a little bit more Raul. Obviously, it wasn't entirely focused on him because we did have stuff with Douglas and some of the stuff of like how Remdo is being run, and we also had all of the stuff with Riel, Vincent, and Pino kind of discovering this cavern with this other race of people in it, and you know, all of all of those little stories that were going on as well. But it was interesting to get like I'm assuming some closure to Raul's story because I'm assuming that he was either killed or has been arrested or something given what he has done. But to just kind of get some time to kind of see like the end of his kind of descent into, I don't want to say madness, but definitely this descent into like realizing, taking the rose glasses off, the rose colored glasses off, which is something that I talked about a little bit when I was talking about Riel having to leave Ramdo and her like accepting the fact that things aren't what they seem and everything that she thought was right about her world was proven to be like a deception or only like partly the truth or lie by omission, if you will. And I feel like Raul had a similar thing where he kind of realized the the holes in the system and kind of the flaws in how things were run, and he kind of touched on that when he was talking about how like the regent and like the council or whatever, I can never remember like the exact term for them, but the like statue people, he was talking to them and he said like you've been ignorant the whole time, like you've never fully understood what was going on. And that's a very interesting thing to bring up, like to have these people who kind of play at being in charge and like people who have been put in charge where they don't actually have all of the information. And I feel like part of that is like intentional because I feel like they're more like figureheads. Like they don't seem to really know what's going on generally, but they also like don't seem to have a ton of impact on what goes on in the city except like through who they talk to. So they like talk to specific people and like those people have to go out and like actively do something about it, but they're very like separate from the city and from the people and from like what is truly going on. There's just this disconnect between their like perspective on things and like what's actually going on. So it doesn't seem like they fully grasp what's going on in general, and to have Raul like very clearly state his opinion about that is like definitely like a gutsy move, but probably a bit of a self-destructive move. And considering the backstory of like what he has been going through since like episode one, um, I think, or episode two. Episode two was the one where Monad went on the killing spree in the like train station place. You know, seeing that that's kind of been his story throughout the show, and it definitely makes sense that he would have one of those like kind of that self-destructive side to things, because like he doesn't have anything to lose except like his position and his life, and his position became like nothing to him because he could see through kind of the facade of what the city was trying to be into like what was actually going on, and kind of the more sinister tones to what's been happening, especially with him saying like, well, the outside world is getting better, like it's getting safer. Why are we not trying to move outside of the city? Like, why are we still trapped in the city? And there's like more corrupt things going on that he's like become aware of. So it's made his like position useless to him. So he doesn't have family, he doesn't have his position. The only thing he had left was his life. And he's like, well, is it worth it? Like, is is it worth it to just like keep on living, or is it, will it feel more fulfilling to like do something drastic and like a little bit impulsive, but something that will at least like bring some notice to what's been going on, to like kind of speak out about stuff. I'm assuming that's part of the reason he shot out the rocket, to be like, hey, we have a rocket and we just didn't use it, or like, hey, you can go outside the city and like we just aren't. um I assume that there are going to be some ramifications to what he did. If you enjoyed this video, you can go and click this playlist and watch the previous episodes I've watched in the series, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!